Good afternoon and welcome along to Training Tuesday, coming to you live from Southampton as always. Or as always when I take the sessions, may not be when Chip, Brett and others take the sessions, but anyway, there we go. Today we're going to be talking about taking DMX Input into MagicQ. Now, DMX Input could be in the form of another console or system sending ArtNet or Streamy ACN into MagicQ. In the setup I've got in the room here, I've just for simplicity, because I can easily share the screens, I have two laptops, both running MagicQ, and you can see this laptop here is running the Viz, and I've got my fit spots on in red at the moment. If I jump over to the other laptop here, you can see the spots are off at the moment, but I can switch one and put the spots in green. So I have two MagicQ systems running on my laptops here. What have I got? How have I set these up? Well, I've literally just networked the two together. So I've got this laptop running just a standard network cable into my GS8, just an unmanaged network switch, out and then into other laptop. So there's a couple of things we can do with DMX Input and why we might want to use that, which I'm going to run through in this session today. Now, as mentioned, it doesn't have to be MagicQ pumping the DMX in. It could be any controller or system, console, whatever, that can send ArtNet or Streamy ACN, and you'll see why in some of the application a bit later on. Now, for the purposes of the training today, this laptop here, on this side of the room, my right, your left probably, is going to be the laptop I'm going to treat as my console. And then I'm going to take DMX in from this system over here. So if I jump onto this laptop here, well, what can I do with DMX Input? Well, first off, I need to configure how it's coming into MagicQ. So if I go to Setup, View Settings and Network, you can see the IP address of this MagicQ system is 10.0.0.25. Now, if I jump over to the other laptop over here and go to its network settings and go to View Settings, this one is 10.0.0.20. And of course, I've set those static IP addresses in Control Panel Network Settings on the laptop itself. And you can tell I've done that because if I double click, it shows me that as my IP address option. Now, if I jump back to the other laptop over here, which is 10.0.0.25, how am I sending DMX out of the system? Well, in DMX.io, I've got 10 universes enabled, and they're set to output via ArtNet, and they're outputting via ArtNet universe 0 to 9. So ArtNet starting at 0 going up to 9 for my 10 universes in this particular show file. Of course, use as many universes as you need for your show. MagicQ PC supports 64 universes, and consoles have various other limits on them. For example, MQ500M Plus, 400 universes direct from the console. So what else have I set? Well, I've set DMX in here also coming via ArtNet. Now, for DMX Input, you have a choice of having either ArtNet, network protocols of ArtNet, Pathport, Streamy ACN, or ShowNet. Obviously, ArtNet and Streamy ACN being the most popular these days. I've set the input to come via ArtNet, and I've set it to come via ArtNet universes 10 to 19. Now, technically, you could use the same universes if you want. I would not recommend doing that. It just makes things much easier for you to manage. And we've got many hundreds of universes we could use. You know, if I really wanted to, I could say set this to Art Universe 100, which is obviously subnet 6, Universe 4 onwards, and it's worked it out for me here. So I've just changed that. I'm now saying the DMX in is coming from ArtNet Universe 100 onwards. It makes things so much simpler to manage rather than trying to use the same universes, etc. You don't know what other mergers things are on the network, which might cause you problems later on. So I'm now expecting to receive DMX in on ArtNet Universe 100. Now jumping back to the other laptop here, and you can see in the DMX settings of this one, well, the in type I'm going to straight away set to none because this one's not going to do any sort of input at all. I'm not going to be sending any input into the system, it's only going to output. And on this one, I'm going to output on ArtNet 10 universes. So I'm going to enable my 10 universes here. And I'm going to output on ArtNet universe 100 onwards, like so. You can now see that it's now set in my columns, in my field here, ArtNet 100 onwards, and it's now sending out those ArtNet universes. So it should be sending them in to this console here. I should be able to prove that by just going to the first universe and putting, say, a ramp on it. And now if I jump back to the other laptop over here, move the mouse here, you can see this one here was the one that's set to receive ArtNet 100. I just set a ramp on the first universe. Now, of course, I'm not doing anything with that data at the moment, but I should be able to prove I'm seeing it by going to the output window. Yes, I know it's output, seems counterintuitive. I promise you can see inputs in the output window as well. In the output window, the default view is the heads view here. If I go to view channels, then go to view DMX, and then toggle on view inputs, it will show me inputs per universe. If I go to universe 1, why am I looking at universe 1? Because universe 1 is receiving ArtNet 100. So I'm looking at the inputs on console universe 1, which is getting ArtNet 100. You can see it's ramping nicely away there. I've proved I'm getting data from the other laptop into this laptop. Now I'm going to jump back to the first laptop and I'm going to turn that ramp test off, otherwise that's going to confuse me later on. And if I jump back to the other laptop here, and I'm keeping Luke busy on the buttons today, chopping between these two laptops, you can see that that ramp has now stopped there. Universe 1 is sitting now, no longer ramping. So what can I do with DMX Input? Well, let's go back to our DMX.io window. Well, the most crude thing we can do, or the sort of the quickest and dirtiest thing we can do with DMX Input, is we could use it as a merge. So let's say I'm at a festival. And I don't want to be messing around. I haven't got the luxury of being given a nice switch to do console switching. It's a small little event, and someone's coming in with another console, and they just want to take over. But I don't want to be messing around by unplugging things, or maybe actually I don't trust their console. Unfortunately, maybe it's not a ChamSys console, or maybe they've had a few issues. You think, well, actually, I want to leave my laptop or my MagicQ console connected and running. But I want to let them have some control of the rig. So what I could do is I could go to the test column here, and I could set that to input. And when I set that to input, it now says basically whatever you receive on the input, spit it out the output. And you can see the spots have now gone red in the viz here. And if I jump back over to the other laptop over here, and I put something else on, so I'm going to go to layout 1 here, and I'm going to select my wash lights. I'm going to locate them, put them in yellow. I'm going to put them in the cross as well. And I'm going to turn on the front of house lights a little bit, like the band. There we go. And I jump back to the other laptop over here. You can see that look has now been replicated in the viz there, and that data would be spat back out of this console. ArtNet universes 0 to 9, now sending that console data out. If something goes wrong, they lose their console, or maybe just they finished a set, I want to take it back over again, I simply just set the input here to none, and I'm back in control from my system here. Now it's worth saying that when you do set that to input, like I did here, it is a hard takeover. I've lost control. I can't do anything with these lights anymore, the things that are patched on those universes, you can see there. It's fully just taking the input and sending it to the output. Now there is a merge option, which will do a merge of the two outputs. Now I don't see that in the viz here, but I would see that coming out on the DMX output just because of the way we support that in MagicQ, but that's there for you as well. If needed. Now this is doing it completely per universe, so I'll set that back to none again. It doesn't give me the chance to kind of filter it by specific channels or attributes or anything, so it's the quick and dirty, just do things by a universe. Now the other way you might want to take DMX in is if you've got something like a media server or something. Maybe I've got a media master, which I want to drive the RGB part of some fixtures. And the way I can do that is I'm going to set this test back to none, as I've done already. I'm going to go to patch, I'm going to go to view channels, and here I can pick a specific universe. So in my show file, jumping back to the first laptop here, I've got a whole bunch of pars, which are RGBW pars, I believe. I'm going to locate those. What have we got on them? Well, we've got intensity, and we've got color. They're the Chauvet Colorado 1 quad ZTs. The head numbers 9 through 24. Where on earth are these patched? Well, let's go and find them in my patch window here. They're patched on universe 1. They seem like they're taking up 10 or so channels. So what channels have we got on these? We've got something like dimmer, red, green, blue, white, etc. Great, and a zoom, etc. on them. So they're on universe 1. Okay, so I know that much. And okay, well maybe I want the RGB part to be driven from my media server. Bear with me. We're going to pretend this laptop here is a media server. And then my console here on this side of the room is the console. And I'm going to be driving the intensity from here. So what would I do? Well, I can find these pars here, and I want the RGBW elements of these, or the channels, RGBW channels, to take their data from the other console. So I'm going to find those, and I'm going to set those to take the input, and of course it's going to need the right universe and address. Well, thankfully for me, because I've left it on the same universe, I've said, okay, the data comes in on the same universe on the console that I'm outputting on. Okay, it's on ArtNet 100 and outputting on 0, that's fine, but it's on the same console universe, and that's what we're worried about here, and the address stays the same. All good, I don't need to change anything here. If I'd say taken the input on a different universe, then of course I would need to change the universe number. Now the next thing I'm going to say is, well look, James, we've got here 16 of these. It's a little bit cumbersome to go down and find, here we go, here's the RGBW channels of the next one, and set that to input to take the input of those, isn't it? It's a little bit boring doing it that way. So what we can do is we can filter. So I can go filter here and I can say, just show me the RGB channels, or I can even just pick the channels that I want. Now there is some quick filters for RGB or RGBA, RGBAW. Looks like we should actually add an RGBW. But anyway, nonetheless, you can filter down. I've just said filter, okay, show me, what did I pick there? The cyan channel, which is often red as well in our head files. But I could say, okay, quick filter, show me RGBAWs on universe 1. Now, of course, I want RGBAW. It doesn't matter if there's no amber. It just shows me the RGBWs. Great. So I can now see just those channels on that universe for these fixtures. You can see the ones here are set already, which I assuming you didn't start from the first fixture, did I? Never mind, but I'm now just viewing those. Okay, it has taken the color macro. I bet that's been set as amber in the head file, but it doesn't matter for the purpose of this. I can now go down, I can grab all of those, I can set the filter to input, so take the input and run those. Where's the rest of them? Running about down here. Set those to input as well. There's quite a few of them, isn't there? That would have been really boring if I had to filter those. I can just click and drag. I could do it by the whole universe, but I'm not going to, because bear in mind there's some other heads here as well, which I don't want to take. And then I'm going to turn off the filter, and you can now see, look, all those channels in between, the strobe, dimmer, etc. I haven't set those, and I didn't have to worry about selecting, etc. So use the filters here, filter per universe. Now, what I can do is, you should be able to see that if I was to go to my window here, I grab my pars and I turn on the dimmer for them, you can see they're currently in a sort of a UV, sort of pinky colour. If I jump back to my media server here, on this laptop here, which is running the colours for them, well, look, let's say I'm going to quickly add an effect on those. Let's add a colour. Let's add an RGB onto those. Let's see why I'm not seeing that. Let's take the blue. Let's put some colour back in then. There we go. There you go. So you can see there's an RGB effect running on those pars. Now if I jump back onto the other laptop here, you can see that RGB effect is now running, and I have control of the dimmer, but not the colour. So when I pick colours here, nothing happens. I've given that control to the other laptop. I've taken the input from my other media server there. Okay. Now this is just a straight hard input, so I'm only seeing a physical input. Now I could have picked a different option. Rather than doing an input, I could go to filter, and let's go RGBW again, and let's go and find the start of these channels here. So I've set merge to input at the moment. Now I'm going to hold my shift button on my laptop and just scroll down so I can grab all those channels, like so. I could, rather than using input, I could have it as an override if I want. Now you can see that they have now gone the color I've got. I have ultimate override unless I'm not doing anything with my clear the programmer, so the dimmer went off. Unless I'm not doing anything with the channel, when it will take the incoming data. That's great for me. I retain being in control of the show and the lights. So if I want the server to run, well, I just don't do anything with the channels. But if I say they're going to be green, they're going to be green, ignores the input now, until I drop that data out the programmer or from a queue that's active. So you can see here, if I drop the color out, it will now take the color from the input again. So it's a nice way of giving control, but also meaning that me on the console, I have ultimate control still, so I can override them if needed. Or you could do a merge if you wanted, and then the mult and multiple in, they're multipliers. So they allow me to do channel multipliers. If you're interested in that, you can have a little read up on it. Essentially, I can say, well, I can receive a value and then I can multiply that on my console here if needed. Right, I'm going to move on from looking at DMX Input here. Let me switch this off, otherwise this is going to confuse me even further later, and that's easily done. So now I've turned off any sort of merging. I am in complete control on my console. I'm not listening to the input at all. Now the observant ones of you will have noticed that in my position window here, on this system here, I have 0 position palettes, nothing, nada. And I want to grab some position palettes. Jumping back to the other console here. So this MagicQ system here, which was our media server, we're now pretending that this is the house console at a festival. And the house guy's been there all weekend. I'm turning up on a Sunday. He's been there since well, probably a good week or so. But anyway, he's been running shows on the stage. It's been open for 2 or 3 days already, and he's sat there and he's tweaked some lovely position palettes for that house rig. I mean, he's had all that time during loading, etc., and got some lovely positions. I've turned up on a Sunday, and I've got half an hour until the show goes live, and I need to recreate some nice positions. Yes, I've got the positions I want them to be in my show file, but I want to grab those quickly. Well, the house console has already got those on it. Doesn't matter that it maybe isn't the ChamSys console. It's got some nice position palettes. So can I make use of those? So you can see on this laptop here, I'm just going to go to look 1 there, which is this particular look on my spots. And now I'm going to jump back over to my console. So I've just arrived at the venue, at the festival. I have no position palettes, but hey presto, the house guy, he's got those lovely positions. I need to make sure, of course, that I'm outputting the right universes and I'm receiving input. So I've now said to the house guy, hey look, you told me I can output to the rig ArtNet universe 0 to 9. Could I get you to send you those 10 universes starting at ArtNet 100? But I'm sure you can have that conversation to figure out who's sending which universes, but he's now essentially sending that. I'm pulling that into my system at the moment. I'm doing nothing with it. But what I can now do is I can now go spots. Okay, so I have no positions for them. So I'm going to go here and I go to view palette on an empty palette. So palette 1 is empty at the moment. Doesn't matter, you might have your palettes used in your show. Just go to any empty palette and then you go view palette and then you can hit capture input. And what it will do is it will grab the DMX input over the network and it will store that as a palette. You can see cap 1. If I now go view palette here and I go look 2 and I come back here and I say capture input, you can see it's now captured that input from that system here. So I now have that palette captured. If I come back here and I go between these palettes, you can see it's grabbed that information there. Now, of course, he's got 10 or so palettes that I want to grab. So let me get rid of these 2 palettes here. Done. Okay, so I'm going to start again. He's got 10 lovely position palettes. The quick thing to do is you go view palette on an empty palette, and as always, all the good stuff's under shift. You hold shift down, capture palette changes to auto capture. You go auto capture, and now every time the DMX value for those spots positions changes, it will capture a palette. If I jump back over to the other laptop quickly, and I now step through my palettes. So 1, okay, there's a nice fan out. There's the up out palette. There's the cross palette. There's the first look. There's the second look. There's an in. There's a down. There's an up. There's a right. There's a left. So I've stepped through the palettes. I jump back now to the other console, and all I do is I press stop capture at the top here, top soft button, stop capture, and I go to my position window, and hey presto, I've got a whole bunch of palettes pulled in, and if I step through these palettes, should be the palettes as step through on that console captured as DMX input. So I've grabbed the house information nice and easily, capture those palettes all in one go, and all I have to do now is just either, and maybe I have in my show file my set palettes, so I might want to just go merge that into my palettes, rename them, etc., and away I go. So a really quick way of grabbing data from another console using it on your system. Auto palette capture. So there you go. That's some DMX input with MagicQ. Looks like Facebook has been particularly quiet on the comments today. Hello Mehmet, hello Kyle, good to have you with us on Facebook. And on YouTube as well. Not too much going on there as well. Good to have the usual faces there, Stevie, Joe and others. Good to have you on YouTube. As ever, if you are watching this later on, we do monitor the chat during the week as we go through as well. So please do ask any questions you've got in the chat. This has been this week's Training Tuesday. You're pleased to know you get a break from me next week. I think it's Chip on Training Tuesday. So Chip will see you Tuesday next week for